Nicholas Bures, Magna Bures Oil.
Outstanding. Thank you for joining the program today. Of course, we like to check in on I believe it's the Illinois Basin in Kentucky, where you've got the $50,000 well or the something, $100,000 well. What is it again? Give me the update. I've been dying to know what's been going on down there in the Illinois Basin.
Well, we're still holding at a $75,000 oil well from completion stage all the way,
You see
to
what
filling the
happens when I
tank.
when I don't have my notes? I got to split the difference. 75 grand
Well,
though, okay for some of the listeners out there. The reason I said 50 to 100, because if it's 100, that's unheard of. And so if you guys have figured out a way to do it at 75,000, let's not just skirt over that quick. Talk about Just real quickly, talk about how that is a magnificent feat in itself.
well, I think I've explained in past shows that we had before done oil wells in Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, so forth and so on. But the problem we had was that if we ever drilled a dry hole, it took us, instead of a couple of months, to recoup our money, because oil prices used to be well above $100 a barrel. When they got down to 20, 30, 40, and 50 like they are right now, it took a long time to recoup our money. So we were looking for a place that we could go where we could get good production for a minimal cost. And we looked into the Illinois Basin and found out that we could actually drill and complete an oil well for only $75,000, where the investor basically gets about 75% of the net revenue that comes out of the well. And we could do several of those only 450 feet apart in the Illinois Basin. So we made the choice to go there. And when we got there, we had some good success. We haven't left yet. So we've kept our prices the same, and we're still hitting oil wells.
Are you guys still looking for investors?
Oh, yeah, we're always looking for investors. We have over 2,500 acres that we can drill an oil well 450 feet from a previous sister well. So we've got plenty of room to do oil wells. We've actually signed on with a company called Northwest Oil and Gas, which is, I can announce it at this point in time, they actually are going public here in the United States. They're a German company, but they've actually signed on with us to start drilling under the same, $75,000 a well price tag. And we welcome anybody and everybody, either major companies or small companies, that want to come out and make some money. That we're ready for them. Unlimited number right now.
And you said Northwest Oil and Gas?
Yeah, Northwest Oil and Gas.
And the other thing is, 75 grand, that's something that the average person can either afford. And by average, I mean, maybe above average, but at least they can come maybe with some buddies, pool it together, that sort of thing. That's not a large number, 75,000. I mean, you're talking about a down payment on a house in some instances. So what kind of, are anybody seeing returns? Because I know the oil industry, a lot of times speculative and volatile, and those fearful buzzwords come out from time to time. Are any of your investors seeing any success at all? Are you guys finding success down there?
Oh, yeah, we're finding success. It's averaging. I mean, it's like any other thing. You don't know how much oil is actually going to come out of an oil well. You could have one well do 50 barrels a day, and the next one drilled a couple feet from it's only going to do 2 barrels a day. It's just the oil business. But if you could, I would tell everybody, if you can live between a 30 and 40% yearly return, it's good to come in down here and do something like that. Now, we're not going to get the big returns I do in Texas, where you put, $5 million, you can get $5 million back in a year. But if you put $75,000 down, you could get anywhere from half of that to all of it back within a year. And then it keeps producing that way, a good 2 or 3 years. And you're going to see a little bit of decline, but it's only like 7% a year after that. So,
well, and that's the one thing with some of these, and you're a vertical, that's right? That's vertical?
Yeah.
With the hydraulic fracturing, the one thing they're finding out is the drop-off rate's faster than they thought. And it seems like that's happening more and more and more with the hydraulic fracturing, to where, that curve is just dropping. And so they got to go and do the refracts, whatever else. But what you're describing to me sounds a little bit more like that slow and steady wins the race thing versus the hydraulic fracturing, which is the boom.
Well, we've got and this is kind of like when people look at the Illinois Basin, they say, well, we've went to like the Kentucky Division of Oil and Gas. We found out that the average production there is only 1 or 2 barrels a day. The reason it's showing that is because the wells they drilled in the 70s are still pumping oil today. So if you're taking a well that's only doing a quarter barrel a day, and then in the 80s it's doing, half a barrel a day, and then the 90s it's doing 1 and 2, and you average them all together, that's what you get. But we have actual geology from a major university here, which is Kentucky University did one of them, and you can find that out at the Kentucky Division of Oil and Gas website. They've done a report on Kentucky. And the area we're drilling in, they've seen anywhere from 5 to 10 to 20 to 30 barrels of initial production when it came in. But it's like anything else. You can do great in Texas too and get 200 or 300 barrels a day, but eventually that's going to pan out and it's going to drop, and it does the same thing here. But that's why I say if you can live with a 30 to 40, 50% per year return, that's not a return. It's just going to be 1 year and quit. You're looking at 5 to 6 years under that same return. So that's why we like it down here. It's an easy hit.
All right, exciting stuff. I always love an update from the Illinois Basin, one of those ones you don't hear about very often. Of course, the Permian, the Bakken, the Haynesworth, the Eagleford, the Niobrara, the Marcellus, those seem to be the ones that take most of the headline. But there are other ones out there. You got the Tyler, you got the Spearfish, you got the Kentucky, you got the Illinois. So it's fun to get an update every now and then. But let's get into the other topic. The reason why I gave you a buzz here. The reason why we're having you on the program to talk a little bit about what's going on in California.
Well, a lot of, it was an interesting story because a lot of people don't know Magna Bures Oil. We are a Wyoming corporation, but we don't have all our offices in Wyoming. Managing members of our company each have their own office and their location, and one of those locations was actually Paradise, California. And I had a call after the fire in Paradise, and they said, well, our office caught on fire. And I was expecting like a little computer fire or something like that. And I said, well, I'll just tell them to fix it. They said, no, you're not watching the news, are you? And I have to tell you, when you get out drilling oil well, sometimes you don't get cable and all that good stuff, so you miss out on the news. But they said the building burned down, and I was, my reaction was, what about our insurance? They said, no, you're not understanding. The whole town burned down. So right now, it's impossible to put a building back up in Paradise. So it's our accounting office is actually, and it's one of our accounting offices, but it held most of our main records. It was moved to a different location, and right now they're up and running again, thank goodness. And just wanted to let everybody out there that is associated with Magna Bures know that you may have thought you were being ignored or something at some time, but we had to retrieve all our files from internet space, and we're oil people, not computer people, so we had to bring somebody in to help us do that. But we're back up and running now, and everything's great. I just wanted to kind of take this opportunity because your organization's interviewed us a few times, and we do have people that listen to your program, let everybody know everything's okay. And hey, we're back up and doing what we need to do.
So this was obviously the wildfire out in California?
Yeah.
So did you have an opportunity to talk to anybody that worked there to get kind of a boots on the ground, what they were experiencing?
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, the lady that runs the office, she was telling me that they were sitting there just, one day it was okay, and the next day all of a sudden they were getting, you got to evacuate, and they got to evacuate, and they didn't even have time to get any of the records out. They didn't have time to move anything. The computers went down, the files went down, everything went down in the fire. So that's why it kind of took us a while to regroup, because it was all destroyed.
Well, how do you deal with that? I mean, because this was your business, and this was, it was a office location, but you have so many other people that are not a part of that wildfire, so they're not impacted. And you know how it is, out of sight, out of mind. And if it isn't part of our daily life, we don't know about it. So how did you guys deal with that? I mean, obviously, you probably sent an email out or something like that, but just walk me through a little bit about just how you guys, and this is part of it, by the way, we should point out, part of this is getting on this program and letting people know that, hey, this is what happened. Like you said, we weren't trying to ignore you. We got burned down, and, because people are busy. There's so many different ways to contact people. There's so many different ways to ignore people and that sort of thing, that you almost have to take different avenues just for something as you would think as easy to tell people as a wildfire burned our office down. But I should point out, this is part of you telling other people. But talk to me about some of the other things that you guys have done, and just that whole process, because you also have another business that you got to run called Day-to-Day Life.
Oh, yeah. But, our investors are our main concern because they keep our lifeblood running, and we weren't able to, our server and everything went down. It wasn't a situation where I could just get on the internet and change stuff, because our server was actually private. So it went to when it went. But we did what we could by emails. We did what we could by, phone calls from what the records we had. Now, you're going to have some people, like you said, they're going to complain about things because they didn't get notified. It wasn't because we were trying to be vicious or not, informative. It's because the information was in internet land, and we had to retrieve it before we could contact anybody. So you're going to have those that complain. You're going to have those that say you're not going fast enough for me. You got people that say, where's this, that, and the other. And we try to say, be patient. Let us fix this first, and we'll get all your information to you. But
was there anything that you guys didn't have, like digital? Obviously, if you had things in the cloud, or if there's some things that were digital, you could save it or backed up on hard drives, that sort of thing.
Yeah, everything was backed up in the cloud. I guess that's what they call it. I'm old, man. I'm not a computer guy, but I guess it's called the cloud or whatever, something else similar to that. But it just had to be retrieved, and then they had to go through it. I mean, it was just a long, drawn-out process. It wasn't just as simple as someone saying you push a button and everything's back. It's not like that. It was more to it than that. We had to find saved emails that were in the server, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff. And,
I kind of chuckle because, I'm helping some universities set up podcasts for their business departments. One of the consulting things we do on the side is help people, set up podcasts. We've been doing radio programs for 25 years, so we have a little experience. And so when we start pointing out some of the things that they got to do just on a day-to-day, their eyes get really big. And I look at them and I say, listen, the Pipeliners podcast, the guy's a CEO for a company, and he does it on the side, and he employs 4 people just to do his weekly podcast. Just because it sounds easy in your head and you can find a checklist online, and there's still the action of somebody's got to do the actual work. And that's where I see where you guys are, that, it might be easy to, retrieve it from the cloud and get back at it, but there's an actual timeline, and somebody's got to actually do that. And like I said, you guys had your daily lives to worry about. You got to stop or pull away from your daily lives in order to now retrieve those files and redo to make sure everybody's got communication and that sort of thing. How does that work remotely like that? I mean, has that strengthened you guys, or are you still trying to figure out how to work through the chaos?
Well, no, actually the process that we used is very strengthening for our company, because if you think about it, one of the main things when you deal with an oil and gas company as far as doing an oil well is their overhead. And I'm not going to say a certain region or anything, but there's places you could drill a well for $300,000 and complete it for the same amount, but they have to charge $700,000. And it's not a bad thing for them to do that. It's just that they have overhead, they have office expenses, they have employees, and they have to pay for those too. And it's like if you buy a car at an auction, you have a right to make a profit off something you own. And if they're going to, release an oil well for somebody to drill, and they're going to lose so much income by somebody paying to drill it, they deserve a little profit on top of it. Everybody does that in business. But if you can keep your overhead low, and that's what we kind of do is with our members, each member has a specific responsibility when it comes to the company, and they have their own office, and they cover their own overhead. So we do not have to put in those prices. That's why we can keep it at $75,000, is because the members are already business owners somewhere else, and they're using a portion of the profits from that business to run their offices to enhance Magna Bures or keep us in check. So when you have one that goes down, like in Paradise, it hurts because they have all the passwords, they have all the backups, they have everything, and if everything's gone, they've got to start over. They got to get computers. They got a place to put the computers. I mean, I don't think people realize everything. Even their laptops were gone. They had to leave. It was like, you have to leave now. It wasn't a situation where, can you pack up and go? When they knocked on the door, they had to go. And before they got out, they could see the flames and everything was gone. So that's how fast that fire was. I don't think people understand that when it comes to a forest fire. It's not like you see in TV and in the movies where they can walk through the fire and the smoke's going, but they can still save somebody. If you ever get in an actual fire, an actual forest fire, you can't see. You got to leave. There's too much smoke. It's devastating. And that's what happened to Paradise. And like I said, they've moved now and they're back open. They've got everything out of the cloud. They got the computers back in. They're at full function. So, hey, we're back. That's the best I can say to everybody.
Is there any, I guess, repercussional effects, that type of thing, that there's any fundraisers, or is insurance taking care of most of that? I guess I'm not sure. You hear wildfire, of course, the first thing that pops in your head is fundraiser, but then where does the dollars go? Is people having specific ones or not?
Well, it happened that the particular managing member had insurance, and she was able to recoup from that. She also had personal funds too. She was a successful business person, and she basically just moved everything and started everything over again. So it didn't cost the company anything really, because like I said, it was a separate company. Even though she was an active member, she used that company to do work for Magna Bures, and so it handled it on that end. So it didn't increase our need to increase our prices, because it didn't affect our bottom line at all, really.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And then, of course, we talked, first of all, everybody's safe, so that's a good sign. But you did mention how it didn't seem to impact your guys' pricing structure and that sort of thing. So that's always nice when you can have some sort of accident, tragedy, blip in the road, if you will, and you don't have to pass costs on to the consumer, because anytime you got to stop for gas, hey, man, that takes time. It takes time to pay for the gas, and it takes time to take the time to do that. And you know how it is in business, man. It's a machine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You guys you mentioned out of Wyoming. Have you got any activity going on in Wyoming these days?
No, we actually we were about to go back to Wyoming and do some stuff, and then the gas or oil prices dropped again on us, down in the low 50s to the 40s, and it's back up, and it's just fluctuating too much. When you have so much success in one area and it's working out, I don't think we're going to be moving to Wyoming or someplace like that, or back to that, until the prices stabilize. We thought they'd stabilize when they hit over 70, but they fooled us and went back down. And I think until the international market and everything gets squared away, where we know, a decent price, at least where it's not fluctuating $20 or $30 every 3 months, then we'll move back to Wyoming and Texas and Oklahoma. Because like I said, it's hard to recoup your investment there if you don't hit a major well and you spend a lot of money, because the prices are too much fluctuation in the prices right now.
Sure. Yeah. We are at a little bit of a gray area when it comes to pricing. There's some companies that are doing well, and there's other ones that, they're not getting the business because we're not at $70 or whatever, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean by that. There's different tiers of people getting businesses and that sort of thing. What are you hearing from some of your colleagues out there, whether it be midstream, upstream, salmon stream, that type of thing? Are there any certain areas that you're seeing or hearing about more success than others?
Well, the Permian Basin, for one, down in Texas, all I hear is that all the time when I talk to people. There's a lot of work being done in Indiana and prices. And we're actually getting ready to move into Indiana and Illinois ourselves and do some drilling. Now, those cost a little more money because they're deeper formations. We deal mainly in the coniferous formation in the Warren County area, in Allen and Butler. But we're going to be moving up here into Indiana, Illinois. It's a little bit deeper formations there for us. So it will cost us a little bit more when we do that. But until we actually put all the wells we can put on those 2,500 acres, we're probably going to stay right where we are, because it's just too good. You can take $300,000 and drill one well somewhere, and you can take that and drill almost four wells where we are now. It just doesn't make sense for us to move.
Well, talk to me about what it is you guys have coming up for the next year then. You mentioned all this acreage you have. You're looking for investors. You have investors, that type of thing. Are you looking just to kind of be steady Eddie this year? Are you looking for a little growth, that type of thing? What do you got planned for 2019? We're still a little early on. It's only February.
Right. Well, we are and that's another thing about where we are. It's a little bit different. We can actually drill 4 wells a week up here where we're at, and a lot of people can't do that because the regulations aren't as severe. You can get a permit to the state. That's how quick you can drill here in the Illinois Basin.
Oh, you cut out there. How quick?
Well, you can do it after you send your paperwork into the state, and the Kentucky Division of Oil and Gas gets it. You're looking at 2 weeks before they issue a permit and you can drill. Okay. So that's how fast you can drill here.
I was going to say up in the Bakken, it's like 3 days. And if you're on the Indian reservation, the Native American reservation, they had to go through 47 steps versus the private 3 days versus, can you imagine 47 steps through the government?
Sometimes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But so good news is down there, they're only 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks, and we start drilling. We can do 4 a week easy. And I'm not talking about drilling complete. We can drill it 1 week and complete it the next week. That's how fast we can. So 2 weeks to 3 weeks span from the time we get a permit for oil's pumping in the tank. That's what it takes us here.
And how can people get in touch with you if they want to know more information about how to invest in this, or just find out more about it?
All you got to do is go to magnabures.com. That's magnabures.com, and it's got all the information you need to get a hold of us, and we'll be glad to talk with you and maybe set up something, a conference call, and discuss with you what we've got and go from there.
Any final thoughts? Anything we left out? Anything you want to reiterate? That type of thing?
I just think 2019 is going to be a good year for drilling. There's a lot of tax incentives available right now, and if they're serious about drilling. And I was going to say this too. There is people out there that call us up and say, hey, I've got $5,000. Can you find me other partners to go into an oil well with? So just because, you know, if you don't have $30,000 or $40,000, you got $5,000, give us a call and we'll put you on a list. And, you know, when other partners get together, you guys, you know, you make the decisions on it, but you will be able to get into an oil well.
Oh, you guys do that too? I mean, I know that exists, you know, a lot of times the financial advisors and that sort of thing, wrangling up the, you know, the groups, or it's very common in real estate, of course, real estate investment trusts, I think they're called, in REITs. But you guys assist with that, huh? To where if somebody's got, you know, 5-10 grand and what the heck, I want to be an oil man, you know, and they can get into it.
I just like people to understand that when you just put $10,000 or $5,000 into an oil well, don't expect to become J.R. Ewing overnight. There's a process to it. But yeah, we've got a list of people that call and say, hey, I've got 10,000, and then somebody else will call and say, we got 10,000, and we'll put them together as a group on a conference call and go from there. You know, they can get in for minimum 5,000.
Yeah, right. You guys are promising them J.R. Ewing all the way to the tune to when they call your office, you get the theme for Dallas as the on-hold music.
Either that or the Jeffersons, I'm not sure which.
Right. We are moving on up. More like Sanford and Son in my world. Jeez. That's good stuff, man. Yeah, that's a good point. You got to mention, too, that you're not J.R. Ewing overnight. That's great.
No.
Well, all right, man. That's good stuff. What's that website again and contact info?
It's www.magnabures.com, and it's got our phone, our emails, everything on it.